I'm John Greaves III. I'm the founder of Garage Gym Life. And what we do is showcase ordinary people doing extraordinary things every day, but specifically in a home gym environment. And we do that so that we can inspire other people who are in similar situations to achieve their fitness goals in what I consider to be the best gym in town, their home gym.
Awesome. Can you, outside of Garage Gym Life, can you give just a quick introduction as to who you actually are, hobbies?
This violates my witness protection.
It can't. You're too big of a public figure to. Yeah.
Sure.
You're trying to trick me.
So I am a former United States Marine. I currently work in the public utility industry, and I am a husband, happily married for 18 years now, and I'm the proud father of 5 kids. So those things all combine into kind of pushing me along on this the journey to be a home gym owner in different ways. I'm also I'm a current martial artist, but I'm also a former kickboxer. And I never made the professionals, but I did fight amateur, and it was a lot of fun. So that's yet another experience. I also competed in powerlifting for a little bit.
Yeah, very cool. So you've had a home gym, it seems like, for a while. You made a reference earlier. You started pre-Rogue, which not a lot of people can say that. So I guess we'll start off with like when did you start your home gym? And then like the biggest benefit you could say you've had with your home gym.
I'm laughing because when you say, I guess we can start off with and I was ready for you to say, how old are you actually? But that didn't happen. So I started my home gym in 2001. My first home gym was a wooden box with 2 70-pound dumbbells that I had at the foot of my bed in my loft apartment. The next home gym I had was in a shed that was at the house where I was renting, and it had a gravel floor. And that's when I finally got my first bench. It was one of those little rickety weeder benches that you see in pumping iron. And that was really the beginning of the home gym journey. And then after that, we moved to a single car garage. I've seen a lot of things over the course of the 20 plus years of having a home gym. But now it seems like the biggest thing I can see that's different is there's almost too much information now. Whereas when I started, there was not enough information. There wasn't enough access to equipment. You couldn't buy, because Rogue didn't start. I think Rogue started in like maybe somewhere between 2007 and 2013. I'm fairly certain they were already around 2013, because I remember going to the Arnold and seeing some Rogue stuff there. But I don't know exactly when they started. It's just escaping me right now. So in 2001, if you wanted to get home gym equipment, you would have to go to either Iron Mind, or you could go to an established company like York or Dynabody. But the companies I just named Iron Mind was catering to home gym owners. The other 2 companies were catering to public gyms. Dynabody actually was setting up gyms for schools. So colleges, universities, even places like Body Solid, they were catering towards like the gym chains. And so if you wanted home gym equipment, you had to either wait until a high school or college was upgrading their weight room, and then see if you could catch the sale when they put it in Craigslist, or even before Craigslist became the thing, you could look in the classifieds and see if a gym was shutting down. And so you were buying commercial equipment. Almost nobody I know was doing like the mail order thing, because all you're going to end up with is infomercial junk. Like some of the worst stuff on the planet. It didn't last long, because their impression of a home gym was you weren't going to stay in it long. You're just starting out, and then you're going to move into a public gym. So this stuff didn't have to last long anyway. I remember when Bowflex first started, and nobody really saw that as a viable alternative if you're going to have a home gym. So just for example, so like when the Bowflex dumbbells first came out, I had a pair, they broke. That's why I'm not a fan now. They may have improved it, but I just remember them breaking. So I think that now you've got so much more access to equipment that is high quality, durable, and safe, that it's better for you in that sense. But there's also like a fire hose of information coming out at you. So it's difficult to pick out the right one for your needs. So I think it's actually more difficult to start slowly and grow than it was when I started.
That makes sense. What about the biggest benefit you've seen in like owning a home gym? Like you've had one now for 21 years.
Honestly, the biggest benefit is freedom to train the way I want. So when I first started training in a home gym, I was doing basically row lifting. Then somewhere along the way, I started to train to support the fact that I was doing martial arts. Then I switched over to training more to support my desire to compete in powerlifting. And then I went back to the martial arts thing. I became interested in physical culture. So, for example, like the Steinborn. So if you know what a Steinborn is, like, look at my shirt right there. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So that freedom doesn't exist in the public gym. Can you imagine every time I got interested in something else, I went up to the gym owner and said, hey, you mind getting rid of all this stuff you got in here and getting the following items that I'll need to train for this specific goal that I just took a fancy to because I was reading T Nation? No, that wouldn't fly. So that is the biggest benefit that I've had, a lot of training variety, which I think has helped in a lot of ways to keep me motivated to train, because my interests change. I can continue to train. I mean, think about it. I've been lifting weights since 1993. It's difficult to imagine someone sticking with it for that long if your interests don't change at all. I realize that there's some people who are, say, connected with powerlifting, for example, and they've been doing it for a long time, but even their interests change. They're not interested in competing anymore. Maybe now they're coaching. Maybe they are into, like, they run meets themselves or something like that. But from a personal training perspective, a lot of those people who I just mentioned, you go to the meet, you see them there, and they don't even look like they lift anymore because it's taken a back burner. Whereas while I don't weigh exactly what I want to weigh right now, because I had a car wreck and that kind of screwed up what I was doing, I'm still in better shape than most of the people. I'm 49. I'm in better shape than most of the people that I know my age. And it's mostly because I've not missed more than 2 planned days of training since 1993.
Wow. I'd love to hear about why or when did you first start creating content within this space, or like when you started Garage Gym Life, I'm guessing. And what did you see in the market that where you thought, oh, I should do this and try and like make this a thing?
I get asked that quite a bit, and I will make this story as short as I can. So I was working at an insurance company, Fortune 500 company, in the claims department. And I was still in the Marine Corps Reserves, got deployed to Iraq. The day that I earned my combat action ribbon, we took fire while supporting, as an artillery unit, while supporting a unit inside the city of Fallujah as we were taking the city. We were fired on by another artillery unit from the enemy. We started taking rocket fire. We couldn't stop and turn and face them and fire back to defend ourselves. Because these Marines in the city depended on us. So we're continuing to shoot. And when I say we took rocket fire, I saw the rocket go over my head and hit the wall that was about 300 meters away. But we had to keep on shooting. Instead, an Army unit that was stationed somewhere behind us, Paladin unit, they rotated and they fired back to defend us. And the entire time we kept on shooting in this direction. So we earned our combat action ribbon then. The point of that is when all that's over and we calmed back down, the heart rate went back to normal, I realized that although I was terrified in the moment, I still would rather have done that multiple times than go back to the cubicle at the insurance company for people to cuss me out for an accident I wasn't even in. So that's when I started looking for something. I said, I have to find something else. I have a degree in English from the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, but I didn't really know how to apply my degree. I had no interest in being a teacher. So, well, how do I apply it? I said, well, I could try being a writer. And so Garage Gym Life started as a blog because that was the thing that I knew the most about. I had already been working out from home for a few years. I said, let's jump right into it. At the time, garagegyms.com was already out there, John Burgeson's site. And Coop with Garage Gym Reviews and Brandon Campbell Diamond, or Basement Brandon, they were all kind of doing reviews. So I didn't want to do what they were doing. I said, well, what's the missing piece? I'm not a coach. What's the missing piece? And I said, motivation. And so I started on Instagram, basically just reposting people who were regular people. And that was like my caveat. At the time, you had sites, I guess Deadlift Till I'm Dead was out there, powerlifting motivation, but they were only reposting videos if, like, say, Dan Green did something. And what I did that was different was I would share something that someone did as long as they were in a home workout space. And I would go overboard about how excited I was about how awesome I thought it I thought it was. So I remember there was a lady named Beth, and she was coming back from a knee surgery. And I shouted her out in a sort of a clip. I clipped the videos together. There was a guy who had just hit a strongman PR, getting ready for competition. And I put his video and her video in the same, this was only back when Instagram gonna let you do 60 seconds. So it's his video, then her video. And I said, that right there, those are two PRs. This woman's coming back from a knee surgery. She's finally able to bend her leg enough to be able to do lunges in her living room again. This guy is hitting PRs on his way to the biggest contest of his life. Those are both very important to me. Good job, both of you. And because I took that approach, I think that kind of set me apart from everybody else who was doing it, because I wasn't focusing on just reviews. I was focusing on what I think a lot of people in the home gym community lack, and that is sustained motivation. It's easy to get motivated once or for the period of time of this coaching program that you're on. It's very difficult to sustain it for decades. And I can say that because that's me. It's like, how do I motivate myself to go back downstairs again and go in the home gym again and do this one more time and just keep on going?
Cool. You've talked about like how the home gym scene changed, like pre getting equipment in, like with our big companies like Rogue, and now just like home gym equipment manufacturers like Rep and Titan and things like that. How have you seen it change like in recent years, like big changes as like these companies started coming into play? Do you see it like leaning a certain way or?
Yeah, well, I think that there are ebbs and flows. So the biggest change is the fact that COVID-19 locked half the world down. So unless you were essential personnel, you stayed in the house. And I think that the demand for equipment right now by people who they were working on a public gym, let's say they had a bodybuilding competition coming up, and what happens to bodybuilders or just physique athletes in general, what happens to them is you get down into contest shape, and now you're ready to go, and then you hear that everything's locked down, your competition has been canceled. So what a bodybuilder a lot of them did was try to bridge, to try to just float, because you can't stay in that shredded up, diced condition for a long time. It's unhealthy. So, but you also don't want to balloon back up, because it's going to, whenever you find out the competition has been rescheduled, you got to be able to get back at stage ready quickly. So a lot of these people were trying to go for the home workouts. They bought up all the equipment to have it at their house. And I think what the biggest change I've seen is more people wanting packages, like give me the entire gym right now at my house, versus, oh, look, there's a bench, I want that. Oh, look, there's a bar, I want that. And so I think that that's something that's going on right now. At the same time, because all that equipment flooded the market, there was a shortage, and then companies were ramping up production. Everybody's fighting over steel, which wasn't really readily available because everybody's getting steel from the same places. What ended up happening is now you have the world going back to normal, and hopefully we continue to stay normal. What ended up happening is a lot of people who bought this equipment and put it in, say, their living room or their kitchen. I know of at least a couple of people who put it in their kitchen. Now their spouses are like, guess where your little toy's got to go, because I want my kitchen back. I want my living room back. The garage is for cars. Get that out of here. And so these people are selling their stuff fairly cheaply on Facebook Marketplace. And so you're now able to get high quality, barely used equipment at very low prices. So what I'm looking at is how that's going to affect the market for brand new products, because Rogue is still making products. Kabuki's still making products. Rep is still making product. They're actually competing against their own products that are now available in the used market. So I'm looking to see if there are going to be a lot more sales. If they're going to maybe, we already have Black Friday. Are they going to start doing like what Elite FTS does? The better than Black Friday sale they do earlier in the summer. I want to see more companies are going to start doing that, so they can just kind of try to keep up until the market kind of levels back out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't think the prices on the used market have gone down quite yet.
Well, it depends on which platform you're using too.
Really?
And also location. So I was talking to David Dennis with Gorilla Strength. He sent me a text message. He said, what's going on? And he said, this is crazy. And I said, okay, can could you kind of narrow that down? And he was telling me that somebody bought a Cadillac bar for $175 near him in Kentucky.
What?
There you go. Exactly. Right. I said, what? And he said, okay, so we said, think about it. These people were buying all this stuff because they had COVID relief checks. They're stuck in the house, had nothing to do. Well, now as you start seeing more and more people in the house with all this stuff, and they're going back to work now, or they've lost their job and the COVID checks have stopped. Well, they're trying to make, okay, well, what do? I sell stuff to make money. So I'm looking to see that process start, and also to see like, well, how long is it going to go? You know, because you're going to have some people going to hold on because like, well, it's like the housing market. You know, stuff starts to go down, but there's always somebody who's trying to hold on to see if they can kind of ride that bubble a little bit.
Yeah. All right. What you discussed the equipment. How about, so you've been in the scene for a while. How about the home gym culture? Have you seen any shifts within the home gym culture over the past 10 years or so? Is it a different crowd now than it was 10 years ago?
I think about 10 years ago, you had a fair amount of people in home gym culture who were CrossFitters, because Greg Glassman wrote that post about the garage gym, put on the CrossFit main site. But I think we've always had a core of up north basement cellar dwellers who competed in powerlifting, not so much strongman, but competed in powerlifting and some form of bodybuilding. But now I see more people who are just doing it because, again, because of the lockdown, it's just a way to train. And I also think that there's a rise in communities like street parking, which is not for someone who's necessarily intended to compete in the CrossFit Games. They're looking for that same box atmosphere, I guess, that same community feel that you get at a box without having to pay high box prices and without having to travel to the box. So I also see more people who are influencers from the home gym community. Whereas 10 years ago, we were still looking at somebody like, say, Chris Duffin, Chris Duffin originally had a home gym, but you understand what I mean? Like, he's not specifically a home gym person. Looking at athletes like that. And I don't think that there's as much of that. I also see a lot more diversity, I guess, and this is just from looking at Instagram. I'm seeing a lot more people who are into a lot more things. So like the Indian club thing and the Mason club swinging, it's easier for you to see somebody doing that than it was about 10 years ago. Something very simple is barefoot training. I remember people would swear up and down to me that I was going to kill myself and, catch the measles because I was training barefoot. But now you see a lot more people training barefoot because we're starting to embrace that freedom that comes with being in a home gym. I don't necessarily know as far as like who the top people are, if this is a thing, because we don't really have a ton of, when you go to, we have the ice cream social with the home gym Discord, and you've got the garage gym competition. Aside from that, you don't have a ton of virtual home gym specific competitions. And if you go and when we live stream a powerlifting meet, they don't necessarily shout out, and now training from his home gym is so-and-so, right? So we don't necessarily have heroes. So it's still, I think in that sense, divided up a little bit among the reviewers who review products and the top athletes in whatever sport is your favorite.
What's next for Garage Gym Life? What do you see in the future as you continue to grow?
We're trying to build a community on YouTube. And I mean that, build a community on YouTube. We are toying with the idea of maybe starting a Discord, but for me, I want the people who, for a long time, I tried to just cross-pollinate. So if you follow me on Instagram, I wanted you to subscribe to me on YouTube. If you subscribe to me on YouTube, I want you to go over to Instagram. But I've come to the realization that people don't necessarily like both platforms. They may like Instagram because it's that quick hit. They see something cool. My wife likes looking at random animal videos, right? So I show her my Instagram, but she hates Instagram. So I actually look on Instagram for specifically to find random animal videos. The last one was a porcupine eating corn on the cob. And she loves seeing that. I said, hey, look, I got it. I save it. I show it to her, right? Okay. So you have that element, that person who looks on it just for the, oh, that's cute. Oh, that's cute. Oh, that's awesome. YouTube is where you go to learn something. And I think that that's where we're kind of trying to make YouTube as robust as possible, because we want it to be somewhere where you can come to find out the things you want to know. And we're also trying to, because my experience in a home gym is a little bit more diverse than some people. I started out with two dumbbells at the foot of my bed, then went to a shed, then a single car garage, and now to a 2-car garage. And then I have friends who have basement gyms, friends with backyard gyms and that sort of thing. We're trying to diversify the products that we offer in our merch store, because I don't think everything should be garage gym, this or that. So we're working on flags, for example. We were talking offline. We're working on flags specifically with basement themes, also motivational things, because it all comes back around to, I want to motivate you to do your best on a daily basis in your home gym, and whatever it takes to do that, I'm willing to do it. Then that even includes the live streams we do. We're getting back into live streaming on YouTube. We have a live stream coming up actually this weekend of the Georgia State powerlifting meet. And the intention of those live streams is really to just have something that you can put on in the background. I don't do CrossFit, but I've had the CrossFit games on in the background while I lift. So I say, hey, why not have I'm going to make this powerlifting meet accessible for you, so you can put it on and have powerlifting on in the background while you lift. You hear the crowd cheer. It feels like they're cheering for you, things like that. So, and then collaborations like this. I really think that we need to do a better job as creators of collaborating with each other, because I've thought of things in this conversation that I don't normally think of just when I'm by myself, because it's the brushing up against each other and your different perspectives that I think creates a better product for our consumer, who is the viewer.
Yeah. Well, speaking of home gym content creators, what do you see needs to improve? So we have a number of, like you kind of touched on this earlier. We have, you have the big athletes, and then you have reviewers. There's not much else out there, So I'd be curious to hear, just from your perspective as somebody who's always kind of been doing it a little bit different. What do you think, like, if I'm your average Joe who has a home gym and I'm like, oh, I want to start creating content, but I don't want to do it like everybody else. What do you think there's room for?
So let's use an example from the NFL, because I think the NFL in general does it better as far as sports content than anybody else. If you are a fan of a specific sports team and you begin creating content for that sports team, people are going to flock to you no matter how many other content creators there are making content for that sports team, because they are fans of the material. What I think is needed in the home gym space are people who are willing to create home gym related content that isn't just the default, I'm going to review this product and show you what it is. Because let's just be completely real. Until I got to, let's say, 10,000 followers on Instagram, it was difficult to get companies to even answer my DMs or my emails. Until we got to maybe 6,000 subscribers on YouTube, again, companies weren't interested in getting my opinions on products. Now, that may be different for some people, but if you're watching this and you want to become a content creator, I think that you need to not necessarily say that product reviews are your way to go. I think the easiest thing is honestly to just see if you can look at tours of other people's home gyms, because people are always interested in seeing how somebody else put their home gym together. They want to, it's like Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous or MTV Cribs. I want to see your gym candy. I want to see what you did with it. Home gym tours are a good thing. I think we need more of that. And the thing I like about it is it's possible for me to do a tour. We've done it, to do tours with people who are completely on the other side of the world. And so it's fascinating for me to see somebody from India who put a home gym on his rooftop, because that's the only place he has available in the house. And now he has to deal with the monsoon rains. He's got to deal with all these things, but he's still able to get his workout in. And that's fascinating for people here in the States. So I think that the big thing is just look around, see what other people are not doing that you can do without having to make significant changes in your lifestyle from an equipment purchase standpoint, at least in the beginning, until you know that this is something you want to do. I also would advise someone who's getting into the home gym content creation to pay attention to your background, because that was a mistake I made when I first started. I thought people didn't care about the fact that my garage looked like, a dingy little dungeon. Theirs might look like that, but it's easier for them to trust me if I have a background, like you see the background over Adam's shoulder. It looks professional. The background over Jake showed it looks professional. You're more willing to trust me if you think that I've taken the time to make my environment professional. And you don't really have to do a whole ton to just clean things up a little bit. But if that's the first thing I would do, like try to make sure that you present a professional appearance, take the time to edit, to learn about editing, and create content that you would want to actually watch. Like sometimes make a video, let it cool off for like a week, come back and watch it. And if you find yourself fast forwarding through it, what do you think other people are going to do? I know that's probably, again, like I look at things a little bit differently. And I know that's probably not like the simple answer, but I'm saying if you are a content creator, you have to think about it like I'm making something that on some level should be possible to be made into an episode of a television show. Not just, oh, this is just something I'm doing for social media and it's a quick hit and it's easy. I'd rather see something that you make once a month, but it's excellent, than a bunch of trash on a daily basis.
That's cool advice. Make a video, put it down, come back a week later if you liked watching it. Yeah, that was neat. Awesome.
Yeah, a lot of that just goes back into, it's hard when you're like struggling for time, you're working full time, and to set it down for a whole week and to regroup is definitely difficult. So it does take that long-term kind of thinking.
I got one more thing.
Yeah.
One more thing. All right. This goes with the thing I just said. If possible, come up with 52 topics before you ever start. 52, look around at what's going on around you, come up with 52 topics that are evergreen, meaning they're going to always be relevant, and create videos on as many of those topics as you can, because once you create your publication schedule, you need to stick to it. So I see a lot of times people start out and they're very motivated, and then life happens and they go a month and they don't post anything. And then they come back and they got to make the apology video. Yeah, guys, I haven't been really active because I cut my foot off and it took long to grow back. Okay, whatever. What you do is you create, there's 52 weeks in a year. We just saw that from Jake's awesome presentation earlier with the Q&A, the survey Q&A. There are 52 weeks in a year. If you make 50 short videos ahead of time and they're evergreen, you can plug them in whenever you want. You're going on vacation. YouTube has a scheduling function. Schedule that thing, put it on there, boom. All right, that will save you. And in fact, don't be afraid to take vacation from work. If you got vacation days and you really want to do this right, take maybe 3 or 4 days off of work. If you can, take 3 or 4 days off of work and spend those 4 days doing nothing but content creation. If you can't do that, then honestly, you got to ask yourself if this is something you really want to do, because content creation is a job. You work 8 hours a day at your normal job to create a product. You need to be, if this is something that you want to do, you need to look at it as a job that you need to be able to put in at least 8 hours a week on. And if, like, my dream, and I mean, you guys are able to, you're working from home now. So it's like you spend a ton of time on content creation because that's your job. That's what you need in order to be able to succeed. The 40-hour work week exists because that's how much time is necessary to invest into a company in order to make that company successful. So before you dive headfirst into this, and I'm not trying to intimidate you, but before you dive headfirst into this, take a weekend and just say, all right, I'm going to just spend my time making videos, coming up with ideas, and seeing if this is something I would really want to do, so that you don't start out and then kind of fizzle out later on.
Yeah, that'll make sense. And one thing I've always said, if I had to do it again, I think I got away with it because it was so early and there wasn't as much content creation out there in general. So there wasn't as much pressure. But instead of, like John said, rushing out one project after another, I would definitely have tried to do the 1 month approach, try and get a really strong piece of work out every single month for a whole year. And I think I would have been farther along after just a year of doing that, as opposed to how I ended up doing it. So yeah, I really like that idea.
Because people don't care about YouTube wants you to publish every day because they want to bring people to their platform every day. Well, forget them. I mean, we need to care about the algorithm. Instagram, same thing. We need to care about the algorithm. But from the perspective of the people who are going to become fans of you and your brand, It's just as easy to condition them to the fact that you're going to post every Monday as it is to condition them to the idea that you're going to post every day. Because, so let's say you decide you're going to shoot a video for YouTube once a week, or you're going to publish a video for YouTube once a week, right? That once a week video on YouTube can translate into 7 Instagram posts. All right. Here's a video of me setting up my camera, getting ready for this video. Here's a still shot for me getting the thumbnail. Like you guys, if you look on my Instagram, I've taken to showing you guys the rejected photos that I use for my thumbnails. Like these are the ones that didn't make the cut or whatever, right? That's content. And people love to, so then you can use Instagram as a behind the scenes for your YouTube. You say, well, if you want to see the finished product, go here. One other thing that I don't want to forget to say, as far as something missing from the home gym market, is I personally, and I've talked to, I did a live stream with Adam from Garage Gym Lab last week and Joe from the Garage Gym Competition. And all 3 of us talked about how getting an editor who understands home gym culture to edit your videos at a reasonable price is like mining for gold. Like you're looking through all this dirt and you're panning for gold, looking, oh, wait, is that one? Oh, I don't know. Because that is a huge piece of the puzzle. And I know this somebody watching this who wants to get into it is like, well, I'll just edit it all myself. Really, you want to learn all about DaVinci Resolve, Final Cut Pro. You want to learn all of these different software products, or you could just make the video and give it to somebody you trust who understands home gym culture, who will dialogue with you a little bit, but they'll essentially do all the work, add the music, and that's really hard to find. The only person I know of, Matt Pendergraph, if you're watching this, I'll let you boy. Let's talk, all right? Because Matt Pendergraph does a phenomenal, I think his Instagram is at Matt Pendergraph. He does a phenomenal job of editing video. It's like, you look at it, you're like, yeah, there you go. Like you just want to take your hat off and say, yes, because he does such a good job of it. I wish there were more people in our space who didn't necessarily need to be in front of the camera, but who understand our culture and who are willing to do behind the camera work, video editing. Because I promise you, if you make your rates reasonable, you will blow right up. You will blow all the way. There's a reason Juji Mufu had Tom following him around.
No, I agree with you. Matt used to edit this podcast.
There you go.
And he did a great job. I have one more question for you. You know, you've been creating content for a while. I asked this to just about all of the content creators.
So I'm not special. That's what you're saying. That's what
you're not special, but I feel like this one, yeah. I'm just curious, like you've mentioned doing things like the Steinborn, and you know, you've done some unconventional lifts on the internet. I'm curious to hear, like, have you dealt with a lot of internet trolls?
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
Any good examples you could share?
Like not really anything that nobody else has dealt with, but what I will say, so like there was a guy from Australia who for some reason just decided that I was his nemesis, and I don't even know. So he started to just comment on every one of my posts. And so at first it was making me mad, but that's before then I go to this thing and it says, you know, on Instagram, they don't really care. I am a part of a few groups that talk about just growing on Instagram and growing on social media in general, okay? And one of the things that they talk about is how engagement is engagement according to the algorithm for the platforms. They don't care if it's negative or positive. I know that Instagram has a feature now where negative comments kind of get looked at differently, but at the time, all they care about is that someone is commenting on your post. And I didn't realize how much it was helping me, because then my followers, this started a war, because this dude says this stuff about my lifting, and my followers then started talking trash to him, and they actually ended up going to his Instagram like, well, let's see what you can do. Okay, well, that's giving him traffic too, right? So people are like, don't feed the troll. And I'm like, no, tell the troll thank you for increasing your engagement, because that actually will make them even angrier, right? So this dude, so we just started going back and forth, and I think like the end of it was, and to be honest with you, I don't even know what the original lift I did was that started it all. But I still remember I finally said, okay, I'm going to go look at his Instagram. I looked at his Instagram, and I think I said, instead of looking for my post to criticize, you need to look over your privacy fence and see if you left your chest over there. And that's where it ended, right? And I'm just like, he was like this skinny dude. I was like, all right, man, whatever. But yeah, I mean, so the big thing for me was barefoot lifting. Then when I was doing this Steinborn, people were telling me that I was going to kill myself. It wasn't going to whatever. But one thing I found is that as soon as someone who has a high presence does a lift, people start sending me the videos, like they're trying to talk me into it, right? So like when Martins Lisis did the Steinborn at the Arnold, people just sending me these videos, and I'm like, what are you sending it to me for? I'm aware the Steinborn's a great lift. What do you and you're not convincing me. I'm like, yeah, well, good, about time. And next thing I know, I start seeing lots of people doing Steinborns, and then they're all doing like posts about how great the Steinborn is and how it can actually help you become more resilient in terms of like when you're walking out a squat, sometimes it's off balance and you're like this a little bit. Well, the Steinborn helps you become more resilient and injury resistant a little bit in that sort of situation. Although you're not going to Steinborn anything close to what your max is in a walked out squat. You're just not gonna.
Yeah.
But it's a great accessory movement. It's also great for the hips and that kind of thing. The current one is the Arthur lift. People are like, oh my God, that's gonna destroy your spine. And the Arthur lift is you do a hack squat up your back. I have to stand up a little bit. You come up your back and then you bounce it like that. And people just think, oh, that's going to destroy your back. And I'm like, when I have time to engage, I'll say, remember that most of these lifts were created by people before insurance and managed care who were doing manual labor. And so they weren't going to do anything that would make them not be able to go to work the next day. And also a lot of these lifts were done by strongman, which you call performing strongmen, who not only had to do that lift in that town, but they would probably do it multiple times that day, then pack up the wagon and go to the next town and do the whole thing all over again. So the Arthur lift is great for opening up your chest and your shoulders, but it's also the sort of thing that it has a self-limiting function because you can't use as much weight on it. And it's got a built-in safety factor. I mean, you can figure out a way to hurt yourself doing anything, but it's got a built-in safety factor, which is why I like it. And then it's just a different way to lift that I just love. I think like one more was the pullover and floor press. So people would be like, so I'm doing the pullover and floor press, and I remember people saying, but he's got a power rack right there. I can see it. Why isn't he benching out of that? And I'm like, well, that's not the point. It's like, and so I'm doing pullover and floor press. And then I remember Garage Gym competition, the year we all locked down, people wanted to participate, but they didn't have everything there. And so Joe actually asked me if I would do a video showing people how to do pullover and floor press so they could participate in the competition. I said, yeah, by all means, because that's what it's for. It was something that people did before the bench press existed. So I'm like, it's just for me now, it's just a fun variation.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, you want to give us some plugs real quick?
Yeah, sure. So you can follow me on Instagram at Garage Gym Life. You can find me on YouTube at Garage Gym Life Media, and on the Garage Gym Life Media YouTube channel, we have my review of Spider Chalk. We have the chalk block, the chalk ball, and their liquid chalk. I assessed all three of the products depending on what application I was using it for. So grip training, body weight stuff, and powerlifting style training, as well as just simple kettlebell movements. And so the thing is that James from Spider Chalk said that was the most comprehensive review he had ever had anybody do. So hooray for me. Nice. But I really do hope you guys enjoy it. And then on Instagram, we're just trying to engage with people every single day. You want to watch out for my morning motivation. I put that out every single morning, and it's just showcasing people who are doing awesome things in their home gym, because I want you to see it, get inspired, and go do something awesome as well.
Awesome. Cool. Well, we appreciate you, John. Thanks for jumping on with us. And that's going to do it for tonight. Did you like tonight's episode? Well, then be sure to keep your eye out for new episode releases wherever you listen to podcasts. Stay involved on our social media sites by following Garage Gym Experiment and taking part in our Sunday surveys on Instagram so that you can be a part of the conversation. Like, follow, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, and get involved in our website for all your home gym content needs. Jake, do you have anything else left for the listeners?
Nope.
That means we're done. Goodbye.